pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Action on minutes.
Motion to accept.
Motion second discussion. All those in favor? To vote. Selectman Hunter's zooming in. He got called into work for his regular job, so is he going to indicate his votes by voice or
Do you want to
whatever
just,
you do in there on Zoom or Teams?
are you in favor of passing the minutes, Scott?
Adjustments to the agenda?
The only adjustment I have is the finance that we have warrants up to 107, it's actually 106. No, I don't have it anymore.
Public comment. You state your name and the town you're from. You have it. Public comment, boys.
Yeah, I thought there'd be people ahead of me, but anyway, last budget meeting we had, it was stated that the I don't know what they call it, assisted living place where the old mill is, was not going to continue because of lack of funding. We were shaking your head no to.
No, that's not what was said. It was, they're chugging along. Yeah. I don't know who, there might have been somebody that said something about a risk that it might not, funding is always having to be reconsidered, but it's still going along, they're still working.
So it's still going to continue.
Yes.
Do they have a completion date?
Right now, all that they've gotten funding through that CDBG grant and other sources is to do the demo. And then they're gonna be seeking further funding for the rest of it, so. Hopefully the demo will be done, help me Shane, isn't it, within the next 18 months, they expect to have all the demo done?
They did not give me a definitive deadline.
But they're,
I can check.
I already started.
Yeah.
oh yeah.
Well, the reason I'm asking is because we made no provisions in this budget for an increase in an older population moving in and or the trash. When do we plan on doing that?
Well, that project's certainly not gonna be done this year.
Well, yes, but remember they told us all these trailers and ambulances and everything take a year to, after you say you want it, to get here? Have we made a plan for this facility with the fire, the rescue, the police and trash?
Well, I'm sure that through the planning process, I'm not trying to speak for Shane or the fire chief or the police chief, but they do have to, through the planning board process and so forth, they have to accommodate for those things, so.
Do you all have a plan?
So the only thing that I've issued is a demo permit for the old facility.
Well, you got out of that, didn't you? Okay, do you have a plan?
It hasn't gone any further than
It hasn't
the
gone any
approval
further.
process.
There hasn't even been issued a building permit. There's no, and before that, it has to go through the whole planning board process. They haven't even initiated that yet.
Okay, so you're telling me it's a going ahead thing, and in reality, we don't know that.
We don't know that, Lois, because it's a private project. It doesn't have anything to do with the town. We're not funding it. The only thing they need from us is to get building permits and demo permits. And as long as they're abiding by that, they don't have to tell us anything. So we don't know when they're gonna be done demo, and we won't know when they're gonna start building until they draw that building permit.
I really think we should know, but okay.
I will say, and I don't know the specifics, this is talking from one of the gentlemen that's doing the demo process. There was an application process the developers had gone through. They were denied, which is standard from what I understand. And they reapplied and they're anticipating to be approved this time around. And this application process has to do with certain funding from the state, which will go towards funding the project. But other than that, that's the only thing I've heard as far as, financial
Have you been by there, Lois?
Say that again?
Have you been by there?
Yes.
I mean, they're doing something over there, the building's going away.
Well, yes, but I guess they're really not permitted, but anyway. Are they?
And the state fire marshals with a building that big, they have to also give them a permit before he can give them a building permit. So I wouldn't review it, but the state fire marshal's office would, and check for code and, make sure the structure fits in the elevator, that kind of stuff, make sure there's adequate egress around the building. That wouldn't be something I would do. That's something the state fire marshal's office does in the permitting process, but that is not out there because that's on public record on their website, what they're reviewing and stuff.
So that, I guess the answer is not really, but we think it is if it might happen.
The company tells us they're moving forward, but they haven't got to the stage of applying for the next stages because they're in the demo stage.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay.
I'm done.
Any other public comment? Seeing none, moving on. Business items, 5-1 Recreation Department. Adam or Kayla, who wants to?
So Kayla's here, and during the budget process, we made mention of a couple of items, the installation of electrical power at Pismo for lighting and a scoreboard, and then the installation of a scoreboard. So in your packets, Kayla, we've included a couple of prices for both of those items, as well as, the scoreboard and the electrical. So Kayla, did you want to maybe touch on those and the cost of those and so forth?
So we did get a couple different quotes for electrical. The one that I would like to go with is from LRE Electric. Very detailed description of what they would be doing for half the price of the rest of the electricians. So before I started, the old snack shack got torn down, and that housed all of the power to the tower behind the baseball field. And so obviously there's no power in there. The softball field, their scoreboard is on the back of the tower. That cannot be utilized because again, there's no power. So what they would be doing is running power from the outfield shed back to the tower, give us power there, and they'd be setting up for the new scoreboard. So they'd be doing everything for us. Scoreboards are running around $5,000. But with the price from LRE Electric, we can essentially pay for the electric and the scoreboard for what the price of what the electric would have been with the other vendor.
So the ask tonight is, we have a quote for, and just to be clear, so the rec director reached out to get 3 quotes for the electric, only heard back from 2 companies. And for $4,600. So one of the asks tonight is to allow us to take from the rec department reserve, which has a balance of the $37,000 in it right now, the money to do the electrical installation so she can get it on the books and keep moving with it. And the other ask is the scoreboard. She has 3 estimates. Did you have a preference on one of those 3, Gila?
We haven't decided. We're still on those 3. We're gonna speak with the electrician to see if there's a one that they think would be better with what they're setting up.
So the ask would be, would the board be willing to give us some leeway on that then to, maybe up to $5,000 for the scoreboard from that account so that we can get these rolling and hopefully have the project done before the season kicks off?
What if we allowed up to the 48.95.95? The quote for the middle one. If you decide the one that's lower, then great, but the one that's over $5,000.
Is that a motion?
Yes, that's a motion.
I'll second it.
Thank you.
So the 46 for the electric and then 48.95 for the scoreboard?
Yes.
Up to.
Any questions, comments, Scott? Okay, the only question I had was the higher quote listed the trench digging and backfill by the town. The lower quote, they're gonna do it?
So the company that we're gonna have come in, they're gonna do everything for us, so we won't have to try to schedule that, and they can actually come out on April 20th, so this will be done before the season starts.
Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Scott?
Let's vote. Good job, Kayla.
Thanks, Scott.
5.2 ordinance, proposed ordinance changes.
So I'm gonna, just run through the list. I'm assuming the board members, you've all had a chance to look at these. So I will keep it simple. I'm sure you noticed, so that, first of all, thank you to the town clerk and the code officer. They put a lot of work into this as well. The marijuana licensing ordinance, you see in there that there's a brief in there that was prepared by the town clerk in regards to all the things that are being updated. It's a lot of language updates, but the biggest thing is changing marijuana to cannabis and making the ordinance in compliance with state law. Are you guys happy with what you're seeing on that draft thus far? Any concerns?
I am all of the above.
The special amusement ordinance, again, that is another one that has been looked at to bring it into state compliance and using proper terminology and so forth. Are you folks comfortable with what you're seeing there as well?
Good.
Okay. Special amusement. The sexually oriented business license ordinance follows along the same line as the special amusement ordinance with the updates. The only other caveat I'll throw out there is I did have a follow-up conversation with the town attorney, and he just threw out there two options. A, doing exactly what we're planning on doing. He also felt that if the town wanted to, repealing that ordinance and not having it exist wouldn't really put us at any extra risk, because a lot of the things that the ordinance addresses are also conduct that would fall under criminal law or code violations. So some food for thought on whether or not we really need that ordinance or not, even though we still have a business that's in town. So just throwing that out there. But specifically though, what you saw, you're liking what you're seeing. Mass gathering ordinance, the mass gathering ordinance, that's an entire revamp of the ordinance. I think it flows a lot better. I think it makes a lot more sense, a lot more comprehensive. You good with that as well? Scott, are you good with all these?
Yeah, good.
Okay. Sewer ordinance, specifically, that is to make it so you folks can set the standby fee every year, not to exceed, the minimum base rate, so. And then zoning map, Shane will talk about that, and then the solar ordinance stuff. So Shane, do you mind hitting on the zoning first?
Sure can. So, as I've touched on before, I've been working closely with Erica Buckings from AvCog and essentially writing a solar ordinance. Instead of writing a standalone ordinance, we've been working on incorporating that into our existing zoning ordinance, the solar ordinance. Instead of having the standalone solar ordinance, I think I said zoning, we're gonna build it into the current zoning ordinance. And basically, to give you a rundown of what we're working on, I apologize, we were supposed to have a draft tonight of how it looks in the ordinance, but she got backlogged on her end, and we made some changes along the way, and they just haven't been updated. But I'll give you a rundown of what we're looking at. So the solar ordinance is broken down into three categories. So you have your commercial scale, which would be the limited to 4 acres or less. We're gonna sell electricity to the grid. And then we have commercial proprietary. So if Big Apple outside the industrial zone wants to put panels on their roof, they can. And then have residential component to that for proprietary use, whether it be roof or ground mounted. A bunch of boilerplate language will go along with that, especially for roof mounted. We have to ensure structural integrity of houses depending on the age and, can accommodate the extra weight. The same with commercial. And then as far as the commercial scale selling the projects that can be up to 4 acres. We're working on a decommissioning plan that would require financial assurance. Right now, we're looking at a number of 125% of the estimated decommissioning process. In other words, they have to prove, everybody knows that solar projects have a lifespan, they deteriorate over time. And if a developer walks away from it, the town would like to have some sort of assurance that there's gonna be some monies left over to essentially decommission it, remove it as if it was never there. Whether that's through bonding or some other financial mechanism. So that's the meat and potatoes of the solar ordinance. The zoning issue, I've talked about it before, so if you take Record Lumber, from Record Lumber to the intersection of East Oxford, Payne Road and Station Road, that whole area is zoned industrial, and up Whittemore Road and across the street on the AmeriGas side is all zoned industrial. As I said before, the problem with that is if somebody in one of those residential homes decides they want to build an ADU or garage, technically I can't even issue a permit for that because it's an industrial zone. So I'm working with Erica on deleting the industrial zoning for all those parcels with the exception of AmeriGas and Record Lumber Mill, because what they currently do fits more of an industrial zoning type situation. Everything else we changed to mixed use. So commercial, light scale commercial and residential. AmeriGas, the only thing they do, they're like a trucker depot. They have 2 large outside storage tanks for, I'm assuming it's propane. And then they have 1 building where they store propane inside. And that fits more of an industrial. So we're gonna leave those intact, industrial, and everything else around it will be converted to mixed use. And as I said, I think I touched on before, the reason why this was all industrial to begin with is years ago, there was anticipation of a large-scale warehouse to be constructed along the railroad tracks. And we found proof of that information, and that plan never happened. And for whatever reason, it never regressed back to the original zoning. So we're just gonna correct that so that we can, if someone does ask for a building permit in that area, we're not violating our own ordinance by issuing the one.
And the solar, the board still wants to stick with only allowing commercial solar in the industrial zone, yes? That's what was originally said?
Yes.
Okay.
And I'm hoping this, if not tomorrow, I'm hoping by the 1st of next week, I'll have something from Erica so I can schedule a planning board meeting, public hearing. We can go over all this, get that out of the way so we can get it on the warrant for the town meeting. And of course, before it goes to planning board, you'll go before the select board.
Once we get a better draft in our hand that we're on the same page with, we'll send it so you guys can look at it like you have these other ones.
I think we worked all the kinks out of it, some of the language, so.
Yeah, you and I have gone back and forth quite a bit on this stuff.
Yes.
Those are your ordinance updates. Is there any concerns or?
I just got a quick question, Adam, on the marijuana/cannabis one. There's been a lot of residents asking, and I brought it up a few weeks ago, a few meetings ago, as far as putting a cap on the amount of marijuana or cannabis businesses in town. Is this something where that would take place in this ordinance as far as going in front of the town?
Now would be the time if you want to try and put a cap on there, yeah.
I'd like to, yeah.
You guys-
And I'm open to suggestions. I'm just saying I think we should have a cap and limit the amount.
So the only things, we have several different types of licenses, between medical and recreational, is looking at, is there a cap just total, or is there a certain number? Anyway, we can certainly look at that. If there's anything that's pre-existing, we definitely wanna grandfather those, we're
Sure.
not trying to shut
Sure.
anybody down. So,
Well, originally, we had one of them, and then one town meeting, they decided they wasn't gonna have it. I mean,
I believe we've done it twice. When they first went to marijuana, it was a limit.
Yep.
Was suggested at town meeting, it was defeated.
Yep.
And I think we brought it up again at least once, and I think it was defeated again. I'm not opposed to bringing it up again.
I'm not opposed to bringing it up either, but my point was that we had tried this before. And I'll do whatever anybody wants.
I bring it up because several people in town have mentioned it.
I've had 2 or 3 people come ask me how to go about, changing it.
Sure. And I think as we progress in time and you see more and more opening up, people are starting to realize that, all right, maybe the first 5 weren't bad. The next 5, how many do we need in town? Right? And now we're up to how many between grow facilities and retail that,
I think the
Sounds
town
to me
clerk
like
had
this
some
applies.
info.
Yeah.
So I certainly can draft a section to add into this ordinance proposal, but what I would wanna know is, as the town manager said, what are you looking for to cap? Are you looking for to cap the retail stores, the adult use retail, the medical retail? The different pieces, are you looking to cap what you have for dispensaries, what you have for grow houses?
Manufacturing.
And then also have the manufacturing piece. So if it's going to be separate, we need to think that legal is gonna say they need to be listed out separately. Or if you're going to include every facility that's in state statute language of all of those pieces to a certain number. And then I'd want, I'm assuming that you would want clarification that right now, I think we counted them, was it 19?
Yeah.
Around there, that if one of those closes, that license doesn't then become available if you say you're only going to allow 5 more.
Sure.
That license comes available, it's not a new available slot, it's done.
Right. Right.
Okay, so
So
I would just need to know how to write the language and what you want me to do.
could we get a breakdown of how many of each there are right now? Not this moment, but maybe
Yeah.
we could table it till next meeting.
Sure.
Can we get a breakdown and then I can recommend, or someone can.
If you have an idea right now, I can do a draft, just so you can see what it would look like, and then you can amend it at the next meeting.
2 questions.
Mhm.
When do we need to make a decision? Because obviously it needs to be for town meeting, or we could do it on a ballot in November, but I think ideally the goal is town meeting.
Correct.
So when will we need to make a decision? By what date?
So I think what I'd like to see, so at the next meeting, you guys will see your draft town meeting warrant. And then following meeting, which will be the first one in May, you'll get the final approval on the town meeting warrant. So maybe the best thing time-wise is we'll work on a draft, we'll circulate that. I will talk to you guys individually, or the town clerk, one of us will talk to you guys individually to get feedback. And then we'll decide, do we need to do a workshop in the middle there just to hammer this one thing out so that we don't get crunched for time on
And
the
then the second question was, are we gonna be required to have a public hearing if we're going to do an ordinance change of this?
ordinance changes required. Yeah, they all do. So we're gonna have a public hearing for all of these.
Before whatever our cutoff date is?
Yep. So my hope is that we can do that in the beginning of May, potentially, the public hearing for all of these. And then, and we're talking about dates and so that way there's time to change it for town meeting if we actually get public feedback that says, oh no, we think the cap should be 7, not
Right.
5.
Sure.
So,
Okay, just so everybody knows, we've gotta do it
Fast.
Sure, yeah,
next meeting or 2.
I think it's doable.
It's just, I'll add a section on that.
Great, thank you.
Scott, anything on that? Completes 5.2, 5.3 Thompson Lake Dam Reserve discussion.
So during the budget process, one of the board members, I apologize, I don't remember which one of you it was, that asked us, all right, asked to see this. So currently, the towns of Poland, Casco, and Otisfield all contribute $5,000 each to the Thompson Lake Dam Reserve every year. And they're gracious to do that every year. And I think the conversation was, do we want to ask them to consider increasing their contribution?
Can you, I was looking for it, what we budget each year doing the Thompson,
10,000.
10,000. So I believe we should ask them.
How much money do we have in that account right now?
Stand by and I'll look it up. Please. So right now, we have 51,000 available.
And that doesn't go very far when you're doing anything, yeah.
It's kind of like the sewer, frankly, you know, when things come up, it's big. Expensive.
Well, I don't imagine the other towns have got their, I mean, could we do this maybe for another year?
So that was one of the things I noted in here as suggestions. I think they're all at the same place we are with their budgets. So I think maybe now would be the time to send a letter to them saying, asking if in their next budget cycle, they could consider that, meaning, will that be 27, 28? So I think asking them to do that now, after they're probably in the same place we are, not practical.
I don't know where they're at in their budget process.
I'm just making an assumption.
I think we should send a letter asking for them to consider increasing their portion.
Okay.
And I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
How much? I'm okay with leaving it open. We've gone through this before in the past, and if they, some of them indicated if they were gonna give it in more money, they wanted more of a say. The dam is located in Oxford. Somebody has to have control of it and responsibility for it. But I do think everything's gotten a little more expensive since the last time we talked about this, so I think they could look at contributing a little bit more. I leave it open-ended, not try to tie them down to a dollar amount.
You don't want to suggest 10?
If that's the will of the board, I'm good with 10. They're gonna ask, well, how much we're contributing, so we're contributing 10.
Well, I mean, maybe note in the letter that we're doing 10 and we feel
That's
it'd be
fine.
nice for them to do 10. We may not get anything, but, you know, it's worth a shot.
Scott?
Yeah, go ahead, Dana.
Just didn't know if you had anything you wanted to add before we move.
Just to remind you that last time we talked about this, Boardfield in particular was that, if we had a project we were planning on doing, and we had an amount from there, the problem that they expressed last time was that, they weren't sure what the money was going to, but if we had a project that we were doing with the dam, and they could see that, they would probably have no problem coming on that, but, I'm just saying that might pop up again.
So our next big project, is the retaining wall. So maybe that's something that could be noted in this letter that, and provide even copies of the estimates from the engineer and so forth, so they can see those things.
I think that'd be a great idea.
All right, further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Let's vote. Thank you. 5-4, review final 2026-2027 budget totals.
Alright. So thank you to all the budget committee members as well and town staff. I think we got to a good place. A couple of quick notes before I hit off on these. We reached out to the school department, and the school department regarding the school budget, the email they wrote is they should have things more wrapped up come Monday next week. They're saying the overall budget should not increase from last year's amount. However, state valuations and property values will have an effect on the town's portion, but they're looking at not increasing their overall budget. So that's good news. So I say that because on this budget sheet, there's an assessment projection, which was higher because they based it on the previous year. So that might not be as damaging as we thought maybe. And the other item of note is when the selectmen voted on the recreation department budget, originally before we had the mowing number, y'all passed a budget of $223,571. And that's because we added 10 hours a week for the part-time person. I'm sure you guys remember that conversation. And then when the mowing came through and we voted on that, I made the mistake of not including that amount, so we voted on a lower amount. So I just want to clarify that after the reduction for the mowing, that total budget would be $220,495, because we removed a few $1,000s for the reduction in mowing. So I've included that corrected amount on the sheet you're looking at, but is the board comfortable with that? Okay, so. Yeah, probably, can you guys vote just to confirm that number in case anybody calls me on the carpet about it? This is $220,459.
Make a motion to pass.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
All right, so in total, if you look at your budget sheet, what I've done here is you'll see yellow is the selectmen totals, and then green is the budget committee totals. And I did that with all of the individual budgets as well, because the budget committee and the selectmen had different totals for a lot of these different things. Do you want me to read through each one, or just the whole total of the whole budget?
Let's do the whole total.
All right, so the selectmen's total budget for municipal operations, $7,244,818. Budget committee total for municipal operations, $7,485,941. Capital request, selectmen, $485,000. Budget committee, capital request, $470,000. The difference being in the rec department for that $10,000. And then, so that gives a total municipal total for selectmen for both, $7,729,818. Budget committee, municipal total, $7,955,941. So how you see this in front of you right here with the green and the yellow broken down, I'm thinking this is the format that I'm gonna be putting out for public consumption, unless you guys have feedback and would like to see it done differently. I did not include percentages and those things, because it just started getting to be too much on one piece of paper, at least for my eyeballs. But are you guys happy with this format and what you're seeing?
Yeah.
I'm good with it.
And if you disagree with the numbers, please tell me now, because I'm working on the town meeting warrant. All right, so that's what I had for you on the budget.
5.5, abatement to Honda Subs Incorporated, account PP124 in the amount of $383.70. Let's have a motion first.
Motion to abate, 337.
Second.
Discussion? You want to hear from Colin?
Yeah, please.
What would you like to know?
Basically, it's regarding equipment.
Yeah,
That's in there.
so she's a new franchise owner. The inventory was existing from a prior franchise owner. And she was not aware of the requirement to file annual business personal property tax filings. So we went through that, we developed an inventory together. She understands it now. And she understands the process, what's required, things like that. So we started over with the fresh inventory. and she'll just have to update on an annual basis.
Fair enough.
Any other comments? All in favor? Scott?
Yeah.
5.6, abatement. Daniel and Amy Cox, account RE 3209, in the amount of $793.84. They are present here tonight, and I'll give you an opportunity to speak, folks, if you'd like to. You don't have to if you don't want to, but. Oh, I thought that was,
My bad, moving forward.
disregard. I thought that's who you folks were back there. Do I have a motion?
Can we have a little discussion first? I got a few questions. Or do you want a motion to open the discussion? I'll make a motion.
We're gonna have discussion first.
Okay, well, I mean, I got a couple, this is kind of,
Go ahead.
in the past, if a property gets sold and we don't do, our evaluations, usually we get our 10 years before we do in most cases. Is that something that, most things go up? Are things adjusted then, or in the past that we just, I realize you're not gonna adjust them up because everything sells a little higher than what, it was previous when it was revalued or whatever. But how have we handled that in the past?
So I'm talking to the prior assessor. It's my understanding there were no incremental market adjustments made between revaluations. So when you did the reval in 22-23, the values that were updated were the ones from 2009, the year of the last reval. So Oxford has not made incremental adjustments.
We haven't made any incremental adjustments since the 2023 reval, other than new properties being built or developed.
Right, so during a revaluation, cost tables are developed. And in this particular situation, Oxford was divided into neighborhoods and tables were developed for land for each of those neighborhoods and houses overall. The land varies by neighborhood, but not houses. You put a house in 2 different roads, the house assessment should be basically the same. There's some other factors, but basically the same, but land values are certainly different by neighborhood. So these values that we're seeing from our 22-23 revaluation, state of Maine already has us at 86% of market value. I could bump that up. We're allowed to adjust it, but I can't get us to 100 anymore.
Well, I think you gotta be consistent. My first thing would have been I denied it.
This one?
Yeah. But I don't want,
We have identified some neighborhoods in Oxford that we feel were not properly assessed during the revaluation process, and we're seeing market values in excess of what our assessments are. So I've been in touch all along as I get concerned with some of the sales that I have to process. But we had 2 major neighborhoods that we identified that are an issue with respect to assessments, which are a big part of our certified ratio dropping the way it is.
Colleen, for clarification, when you say not properly assessed, you mean they're under-assessed?
They are under-assessed.
We've done some abatements in the last couple of years that were over-assessed, or we did the abatement and then we made some adjustments.
We had, after the reval, we certainly had a lot of abatements where we went into homes that prior assessors during the field work, they can save time if they don't go in. So they just kind of do it based on questions. And so that's actually a lot of the properties that we had to work with. We went inside.
So it sounds to me like perhaps this neighborhood is under-assessed. What wasn't assessed at the same level as the rest of the town?
I think that they underestimated the value in this neighborhood. And it's something that we have talked about sort of internally for a while because we've been seeing.
So how do we fix that?
You can make neighborhood adjustments. There's a process to do it. You work with the residents and the taxpayers in a particular area that you believe is subject to this, and then you actually update the cost tables based on analysis. So all I did in the abatement memo was just identify what we're talking about. Our land values are under assessed based on what they're bringing on the market. And that house that was assessed at $393,500, then turned around and sold for $700. It's a nice neighborhood, and what we're
Because of the
seeing,
land or because of the house or both?
the view up there is commanding that increase over assessments. That's a big part of it. Plus the homes are beautiful.
So I'm reluctant to grant an abatement on what looks to me like a house that was a piece of property that was properly assessed, because perhaps the neighbors aren't assessed as high as they should be.
Every assessor has, the name of our newsletter kind of thing, every assessor has to be fair and equitable. So when I met with the property owner, he said either I'm overassessed or my neighbors are underassessed. And
I don't disagree with
I
that.
did not disagree either. I had already done the analysis to know that he was absolutely accurate,
But to make the correction,
is to reassess the neighborhood.
not decrease the one that's probably properly
To
assessed.
bring equity for this period of time, that was the only way to achieve equity. He is over-assessed in comparison to his neighbors. And I think the fix is to reassess the neighborhood, I do, but that takes more time than could happen for this particular abatement request.
So you're suggesting that the abatement be granted in order to make him equitable with his neighbors at the current assessment, and then a neighborhood adjustment
Correct,
be done moving forward,
correct.
and to include this property?
Each of those other properties in the area, I assessed his house, and I do believe it is accurately assessed, and he didn't actually think that it wasn't. But it is definitely assessed higher than his neighbors. I believe the neighbors are underassessed, and it should be remedied.
And I'll speak for the rest of the town taxpayers, that their properties are assessed. I don't live in this neighborhood. Most of the people out here in this room don't live in this neighborhood. Their properties are properly assessed. If we grant this abatement, how is that fair to the rest of them?
It makes this property owner, puts him in an equitably situation with respect to his neighbors.
To the half dozen homes that are,
That's
Next
correct.
door.
Right now, he's not being traded equitably with response to his neighbors.
how long before the rest of those properties could be reevaluated?
Each one of them has to be individually assessed.
Can that be done in a year?
I think it would take less than that. This is a small neighborhood. We have another larger neighborhood that I also believe is underassessed.
If
I think
everybody's
we
supposed to be
missed the boat
assessed
on
at
some of this.
95%, everybody should be assessed at 85-95%.
Absolutely.
Not,
That's a basic tenet of being an assessor. You treat everyone the same. You're objective and you're equitable. You can't do the job properly if you're not. So right now, this property owner, while properly assessed, is not being treated equitably. The fix is to redo the neighborhood and tweak the cost tables.
comments, questions?
So basically, if we're gonna be consistent, we should grant it.
I think so, which is why I came to this conclusion. In a perfect world, I'd run out, I'd reassess every property. I'd have some meetings so people understood what was going on, because this is not news anyone wants to hear. But the reality is that homes in this neighborhood, I believe, are underassessed, and with the sales data that we have, we can see that.
I could argue with that, and I might live pretty close to that neighborhood, but that's beside the point.
We could loop you in as part of the, Rita. We could loop you in as part of the, you know.
You could, well,
second look.
I guess I'd have to, I mean.
I haven't looked at your house, I don't
There's
know.
no doubt that those properties have additional value that perhaps isn't assessed because of the view. Is that something that's in the assessing guideline, that you're assessing the property, you're assessing the home that's on it? Is there additional money that's assessed because of a picturesque view?
Yep. That's taken into account.
Well, how did they take it in on his and not the rest of them? They're all looking at the same thing.
They missed the boat on what the market would actually bear for this neighborhood. So we have the taxpayer who submitted the abatement. He had built another house up there. And using the tables that were developed during the reval, our contractor valued this home at $395. And when it sold for $700. The land, we have it assessed for 61, it sells for 110. Our cost tables for this neighborhood are wrong.
I understand what you're saying by making it equitable compared to the neighbors.
I know, it sticks in my
I
craw
don't
too, I
believe
get it.
that's equitable for the rest of the taxpayers. My opinion.
It's not the only neighborhood we have to take another look at.
I understand that. We did a townwide reevaluation and everybody was supposed to be brought to 95% per the state mandate. The state requires us to do that.
Yep.
It doesn't sound like everybody was put
rebuild?
at that number.
How long have it been since we did the rebuild?
It's been 2.5 years, 3 years since the
Yeah,
finish.
Yeah. But the markets have been pretty volatile these last few years as well, so.
Oh, yeah, everybody's probably not at 95% anymore, but it doesn't sound like they were, this property, or this was the only property maybe. There's other properties there that weren't assessed at 95% value,
The
if
state,
there's that much of a difference.
the state now has us at 86% in 2026.
I'll entertain a motion, whatever way anybody wants to go.
I'd like to deny it, but on the other hand, I think you gotta be consistent, and probably, you're telling me if he took this to court, he'd win.
No, I'm not saying that. I'm saying that I stand with him, frankly, because I already knew that about this neighborhood and the values. But I didn't confront the other homes, because I had, as I processed sales, I could see that our values, our assessments were lower than what the market value was getting for those properties. But when he came in with his abatement, I had to look at the other houses in the neighborhood, and I saw it too. I don't think they were properly assessed during the revaluation, and I think we should look at that again. I think that the way I assessed this home the first time, I think it's accurately assessed. But the only way to make this right and treat him like his neighbors, which is the whole point of doing a town and breaking it up into neighborhoods and addressing it that way, you have to treat everyone the same, and right now it sticks out. Do I stand by the assessment for his home? I do. I don't want to change it, but I feel like I have to in order to make this situation equitable. It's an important part of the assessing process.
So if we made the abatement tonight, by the time, we could get this taken care of within a year, as far as the rest of the neighborhood,
Yes.
getting everybody.
Yeah, you can hit up multiple properties in a single day. Even to do a detailed assessment, which is what I would recommend for each of these.
I would make a motion to accept the abatement, to get him, to grant him the abatement, to get him in line with the neighbors. And then in hopes that we have this taken care of moving forward. I agree with you, I think it probably is right, but he shouldn't be treated different than anybody else.
Right, I agree.
So I just think we should grant it, and then we should take care of the problem.
Assessors have to be fair and equitable, and sometimes you have to do things like this to achieve that.
I'll make that motion.
I hate to, but I'll second.
I hated it more.
Any further discussion? Anything from you, Scott?
No, living in the neighborhood, do I abstain from vote?
I
That's
don't,
a fair question.
So in fairness,
To abstain.
and to be open for everybody here, Selectman Hunter lives in this neighborhood as well as Selectman Fitz. They don't have any financial gain or loss by granting this abatement, in my opinion. I don't see how they would.
They don't have to, you know, they can still vote. I don't think they should vote on giving themselves an abatement, but that's not
Yeah,
what
that
we're doing here,
wouldn't,
so.
yeah, they're not,
No, but I vouch to have it reassessed.
yeah, so. Okay, all those in favor of the abatement being granted? And I'm opposed, 3-1. Department head,
So we have,
Colleen,
yes. So we had some questions recently about personal property, and so Colleen was prepared to give us a rundown on the meat and potatoes of that when she's ready. Nobody's looking at you, don't worry.
Okay. Should grab a different color. Did we have any specific questions? Or is this just a, tell me what business personal property is?
Perfect.
Okay,
Tell me.
well, I actually have a nice little list for you. So basically, oh, sure. Sure.
You see this?
Thanks.
it's I think it's just gonna get it.
Is this what it is?
Just buried.
Yep, they have it in there.
Okay, they got, we put it in their package,
Yeah.
okay, great.
It's just buried in the packet, so I don't need those.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
All right, so business personal property tax is something that is mandated that we collect by the state of Maine, and assessors in each municipality are mandated to do this particular work. So what we do is work with business owners to categorize the type of personal property that they have that supports their business. So it's equipment, it's fixtures, it's furniture, it's computer equipment, it's things that they use to operate their businesses that aren't tied to the real estate. So they have this real estate property tax bill that they have to pay for their business, and then they have to pay this other type of tax. And so basically, assessors divide equipment into different categories and then depreciate it accordingly. So personal property tax, the things to remember are the basic categories, there are some nuances, are furniture and fixtures, computer equipment, and equipment and more hardware kinds of things for sorry, Ditson here. Machinery and equipment. So basically, we go in, we do an inventory, and based on the age of it, when it was implemented, we categorize it, we depreciate it on an annual basis. And before you ask, the depreciation tables are not standard for the state of Maine. The state of Maine doesn't issue them, each municipal assessor does. So based on the data for a particular municipality, they look a little bit different, like they get tweaked. Because like our table looks a little different this year because what we were finding is we had businesses running all of their equipment and it was already depreciated to the bottom level, but it was still gonna be in use for a number of years. So our depreciation was a little aggressive, so we tweaked it to make it a little bit less aggressive. And every assessor does that on a year basis. You can do it based on a trend analysis or not trending. It's absolutely managed at the local level, but is not standardized by the state. So there's some nuances to it, but we work with each of the business taxpayers to understand what it is that we're required to do, how to identify the appropriate equipment, and we share that depreciation information with every single business owner. So this draft list that you see here talks about some of the types of things that are included in business personal property. It's nothing that would go with the real estate. If there are specific types of lights that they use, like a cannabis grower is going to have grow lights, that's not part of the real estate. Those grow lights would be part of business personal property. A computer to ring up sales, a phone to answer calls, that's business personal property.
Industrial ovens.
Question, what is the rate? Is it the same as the mill rate?
The
The
rate.
rate of the tax?
Yes, it's the same as the mill rate. There are some differences. We depreciate it and then we have to apply the certified ratio to it. So whatever values we depreciate our personal property to this year, then since we can't go above 96% based on the state of Maine determination, then what we have to do is further apply that certified ratio. Questions?
Give me comments.
Okay,
I don't know. I'm not a business owner. I don't have business. This is the worst tax in the state of Maine, if you ask me. You're, a business to open in the state of Maine is gonna be taxed on everything they buy. They're gonna be taxed on all their equipment, and then you're gonna tax them every year for having that equipment and using it
Welcome to Maine.
forever.
absolutely.
It's the worst tax in the state of Maine.
I'm not a fan of it. I can tell you, we are not as aggressive with this as other municipalities.
Very good for that.
Because I'm sort of pro-business and
But you're saying, just take a computer, 10-year-old computer, 20% of what it costs you?
you wanna know how many 10-year-old computers we have going in Oxford?
A lot of them.
A lot of them. I mean, I'm from IT, we have some really old computer equipment that people are still using. I had to tweak the table, I had no choice.
I mean, well, no, but I mean, most anything you do with that, when you get it, it's outdated.
If it's still working, you gotta use it in Maine, because if you buy a new one, they're gonna raise your tax rate.
Well, not the tax rate, it's the same tax rate, but it's that we do apply the certified ratio and we do
Yes.
depreciate as really aggressively
taxes
as
will
we
be
can
Just like a
legitimately.
vehicle.
Right. I'm not a fan of it either, but we have no choice in this, we have to administer this tax.
As a side note, we have some huge personal property accounts in town. I mean, that's a
We
big
do.
part of our tax revenue here. So, it's important.
And we've also brought in a number of business personal property taxpayers in the past few years, because the idea is to treat everyone the same.
I understand that your budgets are based on these tax revenues.
And I've
That's-
made some people very cranky in this town about using personal property taxes, but we have no option, we have to do this.
State of Maine says you gotta do it.
Right, so we do. Is it important money? It is.
Any other questions for Colleen?
I think it's the wisest to steal, but okay.
There are some tax relief programs and the taxpayers know about them and I work with them to understand. There's a business equipment exemption program called Betty and there's a reimbursement program called Better. And so I work with individual businesses to help them file those returns and we approve them whenever possible. We don't like disapproving. I had to disapprove a couple last year because they were late. There's nothing I can do about that. We're 100% audit on all these returns. There's no flexibility, but there are programs to help them get reimbursed or to be exempt from paying the tax in the first place, and our taxpayers do take full advantage of that. We educate them to the best of our ability.
Questions, comments, Scott? Thank you, Colleen. Moving on, town manager updates.
I'm gonna keep it very brief tonight because we've got some other items. Just a reminder that town meeting this year is on June 6th, Saturday at 10 a.m. And that'll be the Oxford Elementary School.
Thank you. Selectmen items? Seeing none? Anything, Scott? Selectmen items? Warrants?
There's the two. Those are my orders, I'm sorry about that. Do you think it's just like next year?
No, it's no difference.
So you're gonna start earning your future.
I wasn't invited to.
I see that.
I basically got it, I think.
Did this work better, Scott, for you, by the way?
It did.
Years in, we finally figured it out.
Motion on the works.
Oh, what's the numbers again? I lost.
101, 103, 104, 105, 106.
Make the motion, sign 101, 104, 105, 106, 103.
Second.
All those in favor? We have a couple of executive sessions. So I'll make a motion to enter executive session, discuss personnel matter pursuant to MRSA Title I, Chapter 13, Section 4056A. Motion is second. All those in favor? Thank you, folks.
I'd like to ask Colleen to join us for this first one.
We don't expect any votes after
No.
business session.